let me go this way. Well, fast forward, while I'm at the altar, I said, all right, well, I can ask anything. So I want money, I want drugs, I want girls, I want cars, I want my papers, I want a job, I want a house. No, mind you, I'm thinking all of this. I'm not saying this out loud. Then the leader puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, whatever you do, bro, don't ask for anything materialistic. And I'm like, man, I am not liking this Scooby-Doo house. What kind of place is this? Everybody knows what I'm thinking. I'm pretty sure my uncle called the pastor and tell him everything I'm going through. Somehow he's connecting everything back to my life. And then he tells me, ask God for something that's going to change your life. I said, okay. Then in my head I say, God, if you're really real, take all my addictions away. This year that just passed, a month ago in November, I'm very grateful to God to say that I've been clean for 12 years. Clean for 12 years. Now, I don't know about you listening, but if you know someone that's struggling to stay clean or get clean, this is probably just for them. Because when you think that your bondage and your chains are too heavy to break, you have no idea the hands that are willing to come in and completely shatter them for you. So I start serving in church. I start evangelizing and taking tracts everywhere with me and sharing Christ with people on the bus and the train stations where I used to sleep, over there with my friends that I stopped hanging out with. Everybody called me Jesus freak. People would make fun of me. They would call me hypocrite. They would say, man, we knew who you were. Who do you think you are trying to change your life? Isn't it funny that when you're in a bad place, nobody wants to talk to you? As soon as you try to change your life, everybody makes fun of you. And I said, man, you guys should be supporting trying to change my life. But they would just mock me. I remember being in this position. Everything was going better. 3 years later, one day I wake up. This was April 2014. I wake up and I remember my left eye was a little bit blurry. It kind of looked like a stream of water flowing through my eye. Then it started in my right eye. Then it started to get blurrier. Then it started to get dark. I remember I was vomiting a lot. I had diarrhea. And I couldn't keep food down. I couldn't even drink water without throwing up. I remember going to work and throwing up in trash cans. One day my boss called me. At this point, I'm working at 7-Eleven. My boss called me and he says, hey, what's going on? I see you throwing up in the cameras. Well, what's going on here? Oh, I just don't feel good, but I'll be fine. Why haven't you gone to the hospital? Because I don't have papers. And I can't afford it. I don't care if you can't afford it. You're going to go to the clinic and I'm going to take care of it. But you got to go to the hospital. You're not doing great. Okay. Then one day I go to the hospital. While they're drawing blood from my hand, I look at the nurse and I tell him, hey man, I'm not feeling that great. He taps my hand and he's like, we're almost done, buddy. We're almost done. And I pass out. When I wake up, I have an IV in my right arm giving me sugar and an IV in my left arm giving me blood. I was supposed to be dead. The doctor looks at me and tells me, why didn't you go to the hospital earlier? He was mad at me for waking when I woke up. You should have been dead already. Look at you. Your blood cell count is so low. Your white blood cell count is below 4% and so forth. Then they do an ultrasound and they see that my kidneys has shrunken dramatically. They told me that I was extremely dehydrated. They told me that my body was completely a disaster. That night, a nurse comes into my room, tells me, I shouldn't be telling you this, but the doctor's going to come in a bit to tell you. But all I want to tell you right now is that everything's going to be okay. Don't worry. And she's crying, holding my hand while all this is happening. Moments later, the doctor comes in, tells me, I don't know how else to tell you this, but I need to let you know that you have chronic kidney failure and we're going to start you on dialysis tonight. I didn't know what any of this meant. I honestly thought all of this was spiritual. I'm like, oh, I'll get over this. This is fine. Well, that night they put tubes in my chest to start doing dialysis 3 times a week, 4 hours each time. For those of you that don't know what dialysis is, in essence, it's when you're connected to a machine with 2 hoses. One pulls out blood, puts it in a machine. The machine cleans the blood, and the other tube or the other hose puts it back in. Because the machine is now doing what your kidneys don't do, which is to clean your blood. I also stopped producing urine. I remember throwing up while I'm on dialysis. I couldn't handle it. And then, as if that weren't enough, in the span of 3 weeks, I lost my sight completely. I lost 45 pounds. And in the span of 7 months, from April to November of 2014, I had 19 surgeries. I was hospitalized 13 times. In July, I had a stroke and 2 seizures of that year. And I remember waking up after having a stroke and 2 seizures. I was paralyzed from neck down. All I was able to move was my right hand a little bit and my face a little bit. The doctors come in. They make me sign a paper called the 5 Wishes, where you give confidence to somebody and you sign off on people being able to make decisions for you. If you're ever in a critical state, if you want to donate organs and so forth. And then the doctors tell me, you have 3 months of life left. The last time I saw my mom with my physical eyes was me under the influence at the Greyhound station. The last time I saw my mom with my physical eyes through a cell phone screen, I was losing my sight and I had the most little bit left on the right corner of my right eye. Cherishing the few precious moments I had left of being able to see pictures of my mom, because webcamming wasn't really a thing yet. Especially on cell phones, it wasn't that great. And then fast forward, I end up 3 months later, I don't die. But they take out my right eye. 1 week later, they take out my left eye. The pressure in your eye is supposed to be around 23. The pressure in both of my eyes was 87. My eyes were literally bulging out my sockets. They were bloodshot red. And I tell people, I'll never be able to see my mom smile anymore. I'll never be able to see my future wife smile or my future kids smile. But just because I can't see them smile doesn't mean I can't make them smile. I may not have sight, but I have vision for life. What is the thing that's holding you down right now? A gentleman not too long ago told me, Dany, I lost my job and I wanted to commit suicide. You lost everything and you were still fighting, and you're still fighting to this day. That year ended with me coming to Boston, Massachusetts. The woman that would wait for me at the bus stop and the train stations was the same woman waiting for me at the airport, my mom. Now, she could have said, you only come with your issues, you only come with your problems. But what she said was, mijo, which means son in Spanish, welcome home. I love you. Let's go home today. 1 month later, while I'm at the oculist, I'm getting my prosthetic eyes, my first set. And joking around, I tell him, oh, I want blue eyes, maybe some light green eyes. We're all laughing. And then I look at my mom and I look at the oculist and I tell him, you know what? I want my mom's eyes. Because I made my mom suffer a lot. I made my mom go through pain. But I don't want her eyes to suffer anymore. I want her eyes to see life transformed and renewed and restored and rejuvenated, redeemed and healed. Well, we all have perseverance. And point number 3, purpose. What is your purpose? Do you know your purpose? See, we all go through challenges in life. But just like a white cane that we sweep from left to right, in the same way we take steps forward to reach our purpose. But what is the purpose that God is trying to take you to? Think of a white cane. I could use it as a doorstop or a weapon, but it doesn't fulfill its purpose until it takes me from point A to point B. See, I've gone through a lot of battles in life. But as Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans I have for you. I remember when I was in the hospital, the Lord came to me and told me, what do you want? And I said, oh, I know about Solomon. I want wisdom, Lord. And God said, no, what do you want? And I said, I want my family to get to know you the same way I know you. And now my family in California goes to church. My family in Mexico goes to church. My family in Massachusetts go to church. When at the time, nobody in my family went to church. People are starting to have relationships with Jesus in my family. Something that I would have never thought of before that. Well, in 2015, when I come to Massachusetts at the end of 2014 into 2015, I started going to the Carroll Center for the Blind. While there, I went through the independent living program. Then I went through their intense technology program. I learned different skills. Then I went to North Shore Community College. I graduated with a GPA of 3.94, where the highest is 4. I got a 3.94. Graduated as a president of Delta Alpha Pi, an honor society of students with disabilities. The president of Youth United, which was a Christian club. Graduated with honors and did commencement speech there, where I got to share my testimony in front of thousands of people. Then I went into Salem State University and graduated in 2021 with a bachelor's in social work with honors and did commencement speech there. In 2019, 2 years before I graduated with my bachelor's, I had a kidney transplant thanks to a gentleman named Cyrus Lavers, who tragically passed away the day before he donated me a kidney from a tragic motorcycle accident. But I honor his life because without him, I would not be where I am today, and without the Lord's help. In 2022, last year, as of this recording, in February, I published my first book, Blindly Painting Words of Love, A Poet's Adventure. And we have used the royalties of this book to help families, immigrant families who have kids with disabilities across the U.S. We've also sent and donated books and and donated money over to Central America, Mexico, the Caribbean. And recently, we were able to donate books and funds over to the Federated States of Micronesia over in Pohnpei. And a little bit of that trickled over into Indonesia. And finally, now I'm working on my second book. Because we all have a purpose. I've been able to share my story around the world with different folks across different platforms in the U.S. with different people. And this year I graduated with my master's in social work